Good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's live session, the Leap Expert Hour. And yes, we have a very, very special guest today. We have everyone's favorite Nidhi Nagori joining us all the way from Canada, and she'll be here very, very shortly. So, hello, everyone. Hello, Shireen. Hello, Imran. Hi, Prudvi. Well, so guys, are you looking forward to study in Canada in 2023? Yes, this session will be really, really helpful in terms of when you should start applying. I believe a lot of you are already researching and you are in the process. But today, let me just take you through, very, very crucial, I would say, details which include the deadlines to apply, because most students they miss out on deadlines and they're not able to secure colleges or admissions into the universities they want to study. So cool. Let me just welcome Nidhi to the session.
Hi, Saket.
Hey, Nidhi, how are you?
Hey, Saket. Doing very well. How are you?
Great, great. Good to see you again.
Yes, lovely seeing you again. And obviously, these sessions are always so much fun, just getting to connect with people and talking more about Canada.
Right. So, Nidhi, we already started getting a lot of questions, and just to quickly, we'll start answering questions pretty soon. But I'll just run the presentation very, very briefly. So it's just a very short presentation talking about deadlines in Canada. So, guys, before we start answering questions, I'll quickly take you through the presentation. So if you're eyeing 2023 intake in Canada, so these are the deadlines you should be looking at. So if you're looking at colleges, the UG diploma programs, you can apply as early as possible. So Canada usually has, especially for colleges, they have first come, first serve, basis admission. So apply as early as possible, which is usually recommended by March or April. For PG diploma programs as well, apply as early as possible. So usually colleges open sometime in February or March. If you have all your documents ready by then, I would advise apply as soon as possible. Some very, very popular programs like data sciences or business analytics or healthcare related programs, they fill up very, very quickly. So make sure that you have all your documents ready by then. If I talk about universities, for bachelors, if you're looking at top ranking universities like UBC or McGill, it's recommended to apply by January for bachelor's degrees. If you're looking at scholarships, most of these universities would have their deadline sometime in December. So yes, if scholarships is something you're looking at, apply by December, otherwise January. For master's degrees, I would say you would have to check the universities individually. So most universities have 4 rounds of intakes, and the last round usually ends in May or June. So as you know, it will entirely depend on how early you apply. So if you apply in the first rounds, the chances of getting accepted are more, because a lot of universities stop accepting applications once the places are full. So I hope that answers most of your questions on the right time to apply to Canadian colleges and universities. So let's get to answering your questions. And before we start today's session, so if you want to speak to me one-on-one, so I've been doing a lot of one-on-one sessions with you guys lately. So there are some slots available for next week as well. So there is a link which is floating in your chat box. Go sign up and you get to speak to me one-on-one, and I'll help you shortlisting the right program and the right university as per your profile. Cool. Let's get back to the session, and shall we start answering questions, Nidhi?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Right. Cool. So first question we have is a very unusual question. Can I do an MBA after BSc Biotechnology? So it's asked by Shashank.
I think they can. I mean, is there anything to stop people from doing? Is visa rejection the reason why, Shashank, you're asking this question?
Yeah, I think most people have this apprehension these days.
Yeah. But honestly, I think the visa rejections happen mostly because either people do courses that do not suit their profile, which is just like they're looking for a stepping stone. Or if I already have an MBA and I decide, oh, I want to do a master's, in that case, the visa will get rejected because they know that you're looking for a stepping stone, right? So correct me if I'm wrong. I think if you're doing an MBA, something like an MBA is highly valued. As long as you don't have another master's, or you can pursue it.
Right. So I think the major thing you need to take into account, Shashank, is basically if you want to do an MBA, MBA as a course, like Nidhi said, it's pretty much, anyone can do an MBA. But again, uh, when you apply for MBA degrees, they usually look at some sort of work experience. So I have seen a lot of engineers and biotechnologists and people from all over, any and every field basically doing an MBA. So MBA will not be an issue at all. So yeah, certainly you can go for an MBA. So, Nidhi, this is by Imran, and he's asking, is it possible to study in Canada without IELTS?
From my understanding, the what I know, I don't think so if you're coming from India.
Yeah.
But again, I think Saket, you're the expert.
Right. So, Imran, just to give you a quick, understanding of how the Canada as a country, looks at your English language proficiency. So, IELTS is mandatory for your student visa. Although there are a few other options like PT or TOEFL. But again, if you want to apply under SDS stream, so IELTS is mandatory. And if you're going for a PG program, the requirement is 6.5 with 6. And if you're going for a UG program, the minimum requirement is 6 with 6. Uh, Next up, Nidhi, we have a question from Sumit. What's a good score in class 12th for top universities?
Is there any ceiling to a good score? I think if you can get 100, I think that's a good score. But
Yeah.
I mean, from my understanding, universities look at a lot of other things, right? Like one, how do you write your SOP? How do you present your application? Two, what has your profile been like? I mean, it's not just getting the right academic score. When you're trying to apply in Canada, you're competing with people who are locals and applying in Canada. I mean, just assuming you're, vying for a top university. And in a case like that, like locals here, students here, for example, they have volunteer hours. They've done summer jobs. They've started working when they were 13. I'm just giving an example. They're into sports. So there's a
Yeah.
lot on their profile, and that's why a profile presentation becomes way more important than your marks. And that's why someone like Leap can really help you structure that profile.
Yeah.
But again, Saket, I will. You've done this way more than me. This has been my understanding of how things are.
Right. So basically, yes, I think Nidhi, you're totally on point. So universities not just look at your marks, but your overall holistic profile. So like if you have some volunteering experience, if you have some extracurriculars. So like I think by top universities, Sumit, you mean something like a UBC or McGill or Toronto or Alberta. So these universities not just look at your marks. Yes, your marks are important, but again. There are a lot of other things the universities also look at, so not just your marks. So I think for that you need very, very strong LORs. You need a very well structured SOP, which is very, very essential. So get in touch with us. Like I said, there is a link which is floating in the chat box. If you want a personalized session from me, you can go and sign up right now. Right. So, Nidhi, I think next question will be pretty interesting for you as well. So, I think this question is something I get from a lot of people, that whether they should do a diploma or a degree after 12th standard. Because, I have seen a lot of students from India going for an advanced diploma, like a 2 year or 3 year diploma after
Yeah.
their 12th. Do you think, are there any plenty job opportunities after, even if someone does not have a bachelor's degree?
So I'll say this. I actually know people who've done even a 1 year diploma. Like people have done just a certification after 12th, and then they started working because they just wanted to get in.
Yeah.
So the top employers need a bachelor's. Like for example, my current role, when they hired me, they actually got my bachelor's verified in India.
Okay.
And I wasn't given the offer letter until the degree was actually verified, and it took a lot of time.
Hmm.
So, because the standard is that without a bachelor's, we will not take somebody in.
Yeah.
So you could do a diploma and you could find opportunities. But I mean, if you're very ambitious in life and if you're looking for a stepping stone, and I don't think there is anything right or wrong about this. It's just your personality and what you want. If I want to just find a decent job that pays me decent money, then I think a diploma is okay. But if you're
Yeah.
somebody who's very ambitious in your head and really wants to work for the top employers, really wants to scale up in your career, then I do think a degree is what you should be aiming for.
Right. And what about Nidhi? I think there's one more question I would like to ask you on like similar lines. So, this is one thing which is very, very commonly asked, because I think a lot of students from India target PG level programs. So there is this growing, I would say, query among students that whether a PG diploma is as acceptable as a master's degree. So what's your take? Because you are into the system, like as a manager yourself. I think you're working in the industry for a very very long time, and how do you see people who come with PG diplomas, or is there any difference between masters and PG diploma or
Not
something like that?
really. I think bachelor's is the drawing line. Like most people want bachelor's. I mean, I'm using the term most employers, but from my experience, it's like 100% of the employers that I've seen need a bachelor's.
Right.
Beyond that, if you have a local education, it helps. So I don't think PG diploma and master's makes a lot of difference. Of course, the master's will give you a bump up in terms of your presentation. You might get one or two interviews more, or unless you've done an MBA, I think then it just puts you in a very different league.
Right.
But haven't seen a lot of difference in PG diploma and masters, and I don't think there's a lot of difference in the curriculum itself
Right.
in most of the universities.
Right. And how about MBAs from Atlantic Canada? Like in general, Atlantic Canadian provinces, the universities don't have like really crazy high requirements like something like
True.
York or UBC or something. Are they still like reputed in Canada? These universities from
Yeah,
Atlantic Canada?
I don't think
Right.
people look at, I mean, unless you're from UFT or MAC or UBC, nobody is really looking at what university or what college you're from. Because if you're not from Canada is funny. If you're not from like the top three or the top five, then it doesn't really matter. And
Yeah.
honestly, it doesn't make an impact because, I mean, you have an MBA,
Hmm.
that's more important than where you got it from.
Right.
Uh, and I do think that if you're not studying in Toronto or if you're not studying in Vancouver, that's actually valued more here because most immigrants who come in, like me, I came in, I've not experienced the country at all,
Right.
um, and I found it difficult to work in Newfoundland or Montreal because the culture is so different,
Yeah.
and I have zero experience of working with people there. So it's
Hmm.
actually valued that you've tried to go somewhere else, you've made an unconventional choice, you've tried to explore the country basically. That's
Right.
what most employers here value, as opposed to just coming into Toronto or Vancouver. Even Calgary, for that matter, is valued a lot because it's still a smaller city compared
Yeah.
to Vancouver and Toronto.
Right.
Um, so I would say that it actually, if the requirements are not crazy high, I wouldn't really be doing a Rotman, Schulich, or York.
Right. Cool. So, guys, I hope it kind of addresses a lot of your questions around PG diplomas, masters, MBAs, and UG diplomas. So, next question, maybe I'll take it up. Hi, sir. How's Sejep? I don't know how to pronounce it. It's like very French names from
Yes.
Montreal. So, yeah, it's a Rahul. It's a public college, as per my understanding, and I think they are a DLI. But again, currently I would advise you to go to canada.ca website and check out the DLI list and check what all programs are are PGWP eligible, because there are some programs in specifically in Quebec which are like not PGWP eligible. So do check that out. Otherwise, the college is the DLI and it's a public college. So yeah. uh, and I think this question will be pretty interesting for you, Nidhi. So Farooq, I think I've interacted with this guy in my previous sessions as well. So is Canadian PR a bit tough after 500 plus CRS points, even after a 2-year master's and 1-2 years of Canadian experience for a 40-year-old data scientist? So technically, I think he's talking about the age factor here. So because I think as far as I know, like when you cross 35, the points start decreasing. So
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
I think if your score is 500 plus, you're still in a good spot because if you've tracked the last 3 or 4 draws, they've been consistently low. I think the last draw was 2 days ago. It was 516, if I'm not wrong. So they've been consistently falling. In fact, now I'd say even if you have a 480 plus, I mean, it could work. 500
Yeah,
plus, I think you're still in a good spot. The age would, well, the age would matter if you're looking for a job because then it does get a little tricky.
yeah,
Uh, you might not be able to find a permanent opportunity, but you'll be able to find contract roles. And I think they're pretty good. I mean, given the market that we're in, I recently had somebody in my team, for example, she only did contract work. So she went, my role, like my profile, came on to help me, I think she was like late 50s. had only done contract roles her life. And I was like, how are you okay with this? And she said, well, first of all, it's more money. Two, there is no dearth of contract roles.
Right.
Three, there's always a novelty value, and you can always take time off between. Um,
Right.
so, so I do think that your PR wise, I think you are in a sweet spot. But I would also look at what after the PR. I mean, getting a PR that's just one part of it, right? Like you still have to settle in and come in.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
But
and the Canadian
but
experience should help. Yeah, sorry,
right. But
Saket.
yeah. So if like I think he's also talking about the Canadian experience. Like obviously, if he
Yeah,
gets some Canadian experience, then obviously it puts him in a better spot than the others for the PR
true.
thing.
True, true,
Right.
true. But I think CEC would still like. I think 2 years is required, right? So I'm not, Farooq. I'm not sure. Like, do you already have the Canadian experience? Then yes, I think. But if your score is 500 plus, like I would not worry. I would really. The scores are consistently dropping. That's the trend that I've seen, and it was 516. So we're very close to coming to 490 or 500 in itself.
Right. And I think it's dropping as well, like consistently dropping over the last few weeks as well.
Yeah.
Cool. Farooq, I hope that answers your questions. Next up, we have Sahil, and he's asking whether he needs to give GRE for top unis. Also, am I late? So you'll be graduating in June 23, targeting MS and CS fall 23. Not really, Sahil, you're not really late, I would say. But yes, a lot of universities may require GRE. So I would say, suggest that you check out individual universities who wish to apply to. Some universities presently also are giving GRE waivers, so that will be updated. Both are giving a lot of GRE and GMAT waivers. So check it out, and you're not late. I think you should start with your IELTS, and I think most universities will be happy to give you conditional offer letters as well. So start applying, and you're not late at all. Next up, we have question from Mani Chaurasia. If I do project management, general project management, can I work in a different field than my bachelor's? I
Yeah,
think
I
that's
think.
an
Yeah, honestly, I think career change and field change is, I mean, just to give you guys a background, I currently work in investment banking, and my role is integrating all the acquisitions that we make. I've never done this in my life.
yeah.
So, it was a very different role. And the first 6 months were actually pretty tough because it was just so different and so intense.
Mm-hmm.
But you can really do what you want. It's just that, so for example, in my interview, they'd actually asked me, you're not from this industry, you don't have experience. How do you think, what's your plan if we take you on? And I did, I mean, if I was well prepared, I'd come up with a full plan that
Yeah.
this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm structuring my first 3 months. And this is what I want to learn. And this is the material that I'm going to go to. So as long as I think you can answer that question, you can absolutely be in any field that you can convince an employer for. And
Right.
the labor shortages are so crazy in Canada right now that I think as long as you have a sane answer, and as long as you seem like somebody who can learn, I think you will find the opportunity that you're looking for.
Right, but I think currently I think most people are worried about all these crazy high visa rejections from Canada. So I think that's why I think these questions are cropping up. Guys, there is no problem in changing your field of study, but again, I would say from the student visa perspective, it's very important that you establish that why are you changing your career fields. So Canada is not something like UK, wherein I have seen a lot of students switching from marketing to data sciences or something like that. Canada, yes, they're very particular about your overall background, but if you substantiate your career shift in a very good manner in your SOP, or you have a solid, I would say, reason, or maybe a solid experience behind you, wherein you kind of establish that yes, this is why you're looking for a career change. I think student visa will not be a problem, and for that you need a very strong SOP. Cool. On that note, let me just if pitch once again, I would say. So
Oh, for sure.
cool. Guys, if you want to talk to me directly, so I think you guys have very, very particular queries. And like I said, I've been doing a lot of one-on-one sessions with a lot of students lately. So there are some slots available for next week. And if you want to speak to me directly, There is a link which is floating in your chat box. Go sign up. It's totally free of cost. You don't have to spend a single penny. And trust me, I've been speaking to a lot of students lately, and my throat really hurts right now. So yeah, contribute to it some more, and I hope to see you guys next week. So go sign up. It's right there in the chat box, and it's completely free of cost. Right. Cool. So Nidhi, the next question is again, I think, about the changing field. So Nivya, I think we've covered this, question already. And yeah, so I hope, you have your answers already. So next up, we have a very interesting question. I think maybe this will suit, I think you are the perfect person to answer this. So can I go for a CPA US or an ACCA at the moment? Which one you should recommend for a career in Canada between these two?
I think if you really have to pick, I would pick ACCA because it depends on where you are. I did CPA US because I was already in the US, and the MOU between CPA US and CPA Canada requires you to have one or more year of physical work experience in the US. So,
Okay.
which I had, and even then it took them like over a year. My degree just came. I still have to do a simple ethics thing, but yeah, my degree came.
Right.
ACCA does not have any such requirement. So I think if you're really, because Canada is big on their certifications, especially if you want to accelerate in your career and grow, you need the local licensing.
Yeah.
So I would say that ACCA is what I would do if I were in your spot. But honestly, like, why not do CPA Canada also? I think that's, most people don't do it because they have to come here and write an exam. But if you're already considering studying here, then I think most colleges have an integrated program for CPA
Yeah.
Canada,
Right.
and I think that's a great pathway. So I would say do it because that gives you also some real life work experience. So that's my take.
Right. Cool. Ronak, I hope that answers your question. And next question we have from Ayan: which course is best in IT after engineering? So which one will you recommend in general? Like what all IT fields are in demand in Canada?
I think coding is big in demand. Cybersecurity is actually one of the most booming ones after pandemic, and now that most of us are remote or hybrid. And I think data analytics is big. But tech, you cannot go wrong anywhere with tech. Like whether it's whether you're a developer, whether you are a product designer, UI UX designer. There's just you're not going wrong with tech at all.
Right. Cool. I hope that answers the questions, Ayan. Next up, we have cool. Prathi, band requirements will vary, as per the university, basically. So some universities would require a 6.5, colleges would require a 6 for bachelor's level programs. Similarly, if I talk about master's level programs, most PG diplomas will accept you with a 6.5 with 6 in each. However, a few universities for very, very selective courses may also ask for a 7 band. So check out the universities and colleges you're wishing to apply to, and you'll have a better understanding. Uh, Next up, we have a question. So many questions actually coming in maybe today. So yeah, so I have to select. Cool.
Yeah, it's good to know so many people are interested in Canada.
Yeah, pretty much actually, and I'm actually having very very hard time to check out all the questions which are kind of floating in. Uh, right. So, God, man, this is like confusing for me as well. Okay, so this question from Sargam. BSc Life Sciences, no internships. Can I pursue PGDM project management?
I
I,
think again, this is about field change, right?
yeah,
But I don't see, I mean, again, like Saket said, right? It's about how you present your application and how you document that field change. But I mean, if you really want to do project management and if you want to do a PGDM in that, I don't see a reason why you cannot do it as long as you
yeah,
document it well.
right. So I think in her case, I think obviously Sargam, of course, you need to have some relevant experience as well to kind of back up your whole profile because your bachelor's is not entirely related to your intended course. So I would suggest get some internships, which I think you have already addressed in your question that you don't have any internships. Get some internships or maybe some work experience, and I think you'll be good to go. I don't see any problem with that. Next up, okay, so I think this is very interesting question. So I think this I get from a lot of people as well, that Canada is not offering any employment to foreigners in general. I think that's
Really?
after the visa rejection thing, which is
Okay.
floating in the market right now.
So I actually volunteer with. I have a lot of data to back this up, but I volunteer with this one organization. The Canadian government actually sets aside funds, and the budget is huge. So they set aside fund to help PR and refugees come in and integrate. So you get free, employment support. They work with you on resumes. They help you get interviews. And I work with an agency that's responsible mostly for refugees. But I also contribute a little bit with the other agency. So that's why I know this data. About 40% of Canada's working population currently is not from Canada.
Right.
So they're all immigrants. And there is no way that Canada can offer less employment to immigrants. I mean, the fact that they need immigrants is because they don't have people in the workforce. It's an aging country. And just Google Canada labor shortages and look at go to Google, put Canada labor shortages, and then go to the news tab and just see the kind of news that's out there. You have employers that are literally, I know for a fact because it's happened to a friend of mine. So you have employers that are literally fighting over each other to get a candidate. So
Oh,
so suppose you get an offer and you go and tell the other employer that you're interviewing with that, hey, sorry, I already got an offer, and then they're like, okay, we'll match it and we'll give you more. And then they also reach out to the other employer and say that, listen, this candidate is mine, I've been interviewing. So it's a whole tussle basically.
okay.
The labor shortages are crazy. That being said, these are countries where talent is more important. It's not. I mean, you cannot be substandard. That's what I mean. You need to be good at whatever you do, and you have
Yeah.
to be good on a consistent basis. So I
Right.
don't think that Canada is offering less employment, but yes, there's a lot of work that you have to do. Whether it's our communication skills, whether it's how we present our information, our educational background, all of that, or our experience for that matter,
Yeah.
all of that will go towards getting you the right opportunity or something that offers a lot of growth.
Right. Cool. That's very interesting, actually. The cat fight. So yeah, that's
Yes.
funny. Cool. So, guys, I think this is the best time to actually plan for Canada. Who knows? You also end up in a very, very similar situation, and it's fun.
Yes.
Yeah. Next question, Nidhi, we have is about on physiotherapy. So, yeah. So this guy is asking particularly after UG diploma, but just tell us about physiotherapy as a career in Canada, how booming it is, or how good it is for.
Yeah, I think healthcare overall has shortages. And physiotherapists, I mean, my physiotherapist, for example, she charges pretty well. And a part of it wasn't even covered by my extended insurance, but I still have to get physiotherapy. So it's a good career, first of all. It definitely pays you well because it's related to healthcare. I've personally experienced it. And most importantly, any field that fits into healthcare, so whether it's social worker, whether because physiotherapy is still you're technically in healthcare providing the services, but even if you're in the back end or mid end of healthcare, you're good.
Yeah.
These are all booming fields, and as people age, or as people, because this is an aging population, the need for something like a physiotherapy only goes up.
Yeah. Right. Next up, we have a question from Adil Khan, and he's asking, BTech in mechanical will 9.3 GPA. I'll be working with IT firm for a year. Can I pursue my master's in CS then? Yeah, I think I don't see any problem here, Adil. Yes, get some experience also, try and get some internships done or maybe some online courses because that will kind of strengthen your profile. Yes, you're from a mechanical background, and a lot of universities will accept you because I think you must have studied math at your bachelor's level anyway. So But yes, work experience, internships, some independent projects, or online certifications definitely help. Talking about online certifications, maybe how valued they are in Canada in general.
It depends on where you've gotten it from. And
Right.
yeah, but I mean, obviously, if you're getting it from, so in tech, it's different, right? Like if you've gotten something in tech, I think that's highly valued.
Yeah.
Because now you have companies like Google, Amazon, all of them have their own free boot camps where they teach people, stuff related to tech. So all of that is valued. Or if you're getting it from Data Code Camp, the
Yeah.
free website. But if you're getting something in finance, or say I'd done something in Alteryx, I'm not sure if people know about it, but basically it's a data analytics tool. I mean, it helps my resume, like, but I think the knowledge of the platform helps more than the certification itself.
Right.
Yeah, so it really depends where you're getting it from and what field you're getting it in. If you're getting it from Coursera and it's not tech related, then it's, I mean, do it for knowledge. And I think most importantly, we should always be doing it for the knowledge
Yeah.
and the education part of it.
Right. And I think specifically, especially in the tech field, I think it's very important to kind of constantly upskill yourselves. So yeah, like I remember, even not tech field, I would say, like I, for me, YouTube was something very new when I started off with Leap last year. I remember, and I think uh, I was not into it at all. So even I have done a lot of courses just for my knowledge that how YouTube works or something like that. So I think once you start getting into that whole zone wherein you have to constantly upskill yourselves, because that's how you kind of progress in life. And yeah, I think these online certifications definitely they offer a lot of help in kind of enhancing your learning curve
Yeah.
basically. Right. Nidhi, any tips on finding an accommodation when you move to Canada?
I think the best places are, first of all, if you have friends and family, or people that you know, seniors, alumni, etc. But I think apart from that, Facebook Marketplace. Uh, there is a group called Indians in Toronto, for example. I think there are three,
Yeah.
four groups in Toronto, and it has more than 150, 200,000 people. You're not going wrong with that. You can find accommodation there. There are also WhatsApp groups. Connect with if you're kind of going in for higher education, you already have the international students wing, right? So connect with them, ask them for suggestions. But I'm pretty sure like there's a WhatsApp group or something that can help you in your particular city and area.
Right. I hope that answers your question, Hussein. Braj Patel, very particular question for Nidhi. So, financial planning after BCom as a course.
Uh, of course, I mean, I don't think there's again an issue with the course in itself, but when it comes to financial planning and something like wealth management, it's always good to have some banking experience. Or, I mean, if you're doing financial planning, if you're trying to go for a course like that right after BCom, relevant experience might help.
Right. Cool. So, guys, before we proceed further to kind of answer your questions, uh, one more time, there is a link which is floating in your chat box. If you want to speak to me directly, go and click on that link. It will take you to a web page where you have to fill in your name, your number, and your question for me. And once you do that, someone from the team will get back to you most probably by Monday with a slot. I still have some slots available for one-on-one counseling with people, and I'll help you with your university shortlist and your programs. So if you want to speak to me, go sign up, fill the form. It's completely free of cost. Uh, right. Nidhi, the next question is very interesting. So Nilesha is asking, is it very advanced tech in abroad when compared to India? Like if you study tech abroad and tech in India is like very advanced or something?
No, in fact, most of the people, the joke that I have is most of the people in IT here are from India.
India,
Uh,
yeah,
so it's one, it's not advanced, and two, I can tell you like it's not advanced, and the Indian techs are respected a lot, because I have a very close friend who actually moved on a work permit, and like she moved on the special work permit that came out recently. And she was not even meeting like cut off for PR, like her IELTS was bad and everything, and so basically moved on a work permit. So it's not a very advanced scene at all. And she works remote. Like even after moving to Canada, she's 100% remote,
yeah,
works from home. So it's not advanced, and the Indian techs are actually respected a lot. And I think I get this question for overall most countries. So I just kind of want to say that when you come from India, you're actually looked. The perception that they have is that you're very bright.
Yeah,
It's very funny. Like they already assume you to be very bright because that's most of the Indians that they've interacted with. So you already
right.
come with some, like you're already up on a pedestal, like one step up, if you want to say.
Yeah.
So irrespective of your field, I don't think you should have any inferiority complex because the other person already thinks you're super intelligent.
Right, and I think I was just watching a comedy show like a week ago or something. I think there's very famous Australian comedy guy Ronnie Cheng or something. So he was talking
Mhm.
about if you come from Southeast Asia or Asia in general, people just perceive that you're very good at math.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
automatically they're like you're very good at math.
Or you're a doctor or a lawyer.
Yeah,
That's also like most of the doctors. My husband jokes about it. Most of the doctors are of a South Asian descent here,
right,
or origin. So it's funny, but
right. And
yeah,
I think going by current standards is just like how many people from India are in IT. So it's like every other tech company is getting an IT CEO, Indian CEO. So I think that speaks a lot about
yeah,
India as a tech talent.
for sure, for sure.
Right. So the next question, let me just take it up. Ritik, even if you get your results by end of September, you're very late for January intake because most universities and colleges are closed. I would advise that you can try May intake or the next available intake would be September. January is unfortunately closed. Popular colleges like Humber and all these GTA area colleges, they close very very early. So like pretty late right now. Next up, oh God, I'm having really hard time actually, sorting the questions.
I have a question for you after we're done with this because I'm curious. I've not studied in Canada, so I'm curious to know how competitive is it? Is it more competitive than UK? Because I'm just like I'm looking at it like is it more competitive to get into, or Canada is more like set by this is what we need, and as long as you get them that, you're good to go.
With Canada, I think, and this is actually it will be pretty helpful for the audience as well. Canada as a country, Nidhi lays a lot of emphasis on, your overall background. So when we talk about, let's say, Australia, New Zealand, or, UK for that matter, so, just to give an idea, universities, including the top ones in the UK, so they'll accept you, like, if you have a psychology degree, you can go for a marketing or an HR program. So it's like the flexibility is there. I know a lot of universities in the UK and Australia, they'll accept you with the data sciences for a data sciences masters, even if you have a bachelor of arts, if you have an interest in the subject. So that way is UK, Australia, they're very very flexible with the courses. But with Canada, it's just that I think you need to have that overall relevant background. So I have seen a lot of engineers, which is a lot of engineers make an obvious move to management,
Yeah, yeah,
after the
yeah.
after they graduate. But there are certain colleges which are very particular that if you don't have experience or if you don't kind of back it up, that why do you want to go for a management program? So yeah, like chances are the visa gets rejected, and especially the current the high visa
Yeah.
rejection rate has actually kind of irked a lot of students. So one of my students, he got selected at Waterloo this year, and he was due to start this week, I think this week, and he still hasn't got his visa. So it's still under processing. So yeah, I think the concerns are very genuine, but I think there was a statement by the Canadian High Commission recently that they are working on it, and there is a lot of backlog because of COVID and all.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like just to answer your question, Canada, yes, because the overall relevancy is required, and most students don't realize it, and they apply, and yes, the colleges will accept them, but again, when it comes to visa, the visa gets rejected on these grounds. So I think I would say in my experience, 80 out of 100 cases they get rejections because of the course they chose to pursue was not relevant to their background. So that's the major reason which is given out by most immigration officers, basically. Otherwise, I don't see any problem in Canada, as in like the percentages required is pretty decent, I would say. Like even the IELTS requirement is pretty decent, like 6.5
Yeah.
or 6. That's pretty
Yeah.
attainable, I would say. But again, the visa rejection is the major problem, and the overall background relevancy is a major problem.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Thanks for that insight.
Right. So next question is from Sri Lakshmi. Which course I can take after a pharmacy, like so pharmacy as a career in Canada, basically.
One, I think there is a local licensing requirement for pharmacist.
Yeah.
So I think you should be looking into that. And I think pharmacy is a decent career. Like I said, anything related to healthcare, I mean, pretty good. And you can come in. I mean, there are a lot of once you start your local licensing, you can start working as an assistant. I mean, there are a bunch of pharma stores. Just I'd say every 1.5 kilometers, there's
Yeah.
a medicine store and drugstore, and you can like get experience there. Most of the people that I see who work as assistants here, and I was having a conversation with somebody in the pharmacy that's close to me. Um, they're all international candidates who are just trying to get the experience, and so that they can kind of continue their licensing.
Yeah.
But I do think that anything in related to healthcare is it's getting an uptick.
Right. Cool. Next question we have from Tanya. So, what other options can we consider instead of an MBA?
Well, if you're not doing an MBA, I think there's a Masters of Finance or there's PG diploma in taking an something related to like correlating to the Masters in Finance itself. Or sorry, I said finance because I'm from finance. I think that's just the conditioning. But anything that you want to do, like HR, operations, logistics, you can look at any other masters as an option or PG diploma as an option. It just depends on what's your own interest. I
Yeah.
mean, thankfully, Canada as a country has not, I mean, from my experience, I don't see MBA or masters, like, there's not a huge difference in how they're perceived now. Like, if you've done an MBA 10 years ago, yes, it was valued and was ranked like way above doing a regular PG diploma or masters,
Yeah.
but that has changed.
Right. Next up, what all options are available for art students, basically in Canada? So, any options you would like to maybe people from arts background, what kind of careers they can pursue in Canada in general?
But by arts, like, do you mean humanities stream or do you mean
Humanities, yeah.
creative? Okay.
Humanities, yeah.
Okay. So I do think that something like a pol science is very good here.
Mhm.
Trying to get into anything that's related to history is also good because I'm just trying to think of all the schemes that the government has ongoing,
Yeah. Mhm.
and where is the government spending their dollars. That's how I always go by. As long as a corporate or government is spending money in certain areas, I think those are good areas to pursue.
Right.
So I would say like those would be good. You could always also look at something like related to geography, for example, because Canada is trying to do a lot of things on the Arctic side,
Yeah.
or honestly anything related to green tech or green economy that Canada wants to get into. Those
Right.
can be spaces to consider.
Right. So, Nidhi, there's one more insight I would like to share with you. So, I think this is a very common question we get because I think with Canada, when you look at students trying to get into an undergraduate level program, so a lot of universities and colleges will ask for math, even for healthcare programs. So that's pretty strange, given that in India we don't have that. If you
Yeah.
want to get into medicine or maybe biomedical sciences, you just need physics, chemistry, and biology. But just to give you an idea, that if you want to get into a nursing program in Canada, you need to have maths in your 12th grade as well. So that's pretty strange, and I think that's why a lot of students do ask me this question that after humanities, what shall we do? So I think, guys, you got the answer from Nidhi herself, and pol science, geography, pretty good options out there. Apart from that, you can also choose business communications. It's a pretty good program. You can also check out architecture if you wish. Apart from that, hotel management, a lot of colleges will accept you.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, so pretty good options out there. Not, I think people from humanities background, they kind of they can actually jump into a variety of careers at the later stage once they start getting experience. Right. Next question. Okay. God, so many questions out there, and they're very, very particular questions, like very lengthy questions, actually. Uh, right. So, Kavya Shri is asking, which is the best specialization to pursue an MBA? So, from Canada perspective, what specializations will you recommend?
I think currently logistics and operations are pretty big because you cannot go wrong with that. Everybody's struggling with it given the
Yeah.
pandemic. But I mean, do what interests you because I think unless you do something that interests you, you will not progress in your career. So, but I mean, that was something that I was personally looking into getting something in operations and logistics if I were to.
Right. This will be a relevant question for you as well. Nidhi Om Gupta is asking, is CMA US good course to get job in Canada?
I think I already said it. Canada is big on local licensing, and there is no equivalent of CMA here. There is CGA and there is CPA. So I think you're better off like doing because what happens is when there is no local equivalent, it's very difficult to explain what you've done. They
Right.
understand Indian CA because CP you can always say it's an equivalent of a Canadian CPA, just in a different country.
Right.
But with something like a CMA, it's there's no local equivalent of that, and yeah, I would just say that try and get into courses that have a local equivalent in Canada. That just
Right.
helps your case.
Right. Cool. I hope that answers the questions. Om, next up, we have a question from Hardeep Kaur. So I'll take it up. Which is the best course abroad after passing school with commerce stream? Please give the answer. So, Hardeep, if you have math, then obviously you have ample options. You can go for BCom or a BBA, with a variety of specializations on offer. However, a lot of universities, unfortunately, Nidhi, this is also the case. Even if you have to go for a bachelor's in business degree in a lot of Canadian universities, they would still require math in your 12th grade. So that's very unfortunate. I don't know, it does not happen in a lot of countries. But yeah, I know a couple of UK universities as well. They also require math, even if you have to go for a bachelor's in business. So yeah, but in Canada, it's like most colleges will ask for it, and most universities will ask for it. So yeah, Hardeep, ideally for you, I can suggest HRM, marketing, and business communications. You can also check out hospitality management. Uh, in case you don't have math, in case you have math, you can get into any of these courses. Cool. Next up, okay, so CA final dropout. Which course will you suggest, Nidhi? So that's a
Um,
very particular question we have now.
yeah, I think honestly, anything related to finance, you could also do something in accounting, finance and accounting. You have a bunch of PG diplomas in that. That's something that you could potentially look at, or financial planning, or I mean, I don't. If you're a CA final, whether you're a CA final dropout or not, I don't think it matters here. That's more important to communicate.
Yeah,
Again, do something that's more relevant to your background, but you already have some insight into whether it's a business law or accounting, taxation. All of that helps, and you can pursue something like a PG diploma in accounting and finance.
right.
But yeah, being a CA final dropout will like it wouldn't take it change your case one way or the other.
Yeah, cool. Next up, Roy. I'm sorry, I think a lot of universities will not accept you for an MSc or an MIM after the 3 year BSc, unfortunately, because Canada works on a 16 years of education system. However, there are a few options wherein a few universities will offer you an MBA, but again, that is on case to case basis. Um, Thompson Rivers University has an MBA program which will accept you after a 3 year bachelor's and without work ex. But again, there are a couple of options like UNB is there, University of New Brunswick, and Vancouver Island University. But that's again looked at from case to case basis, and you would largely require some sort of work experience to get into these programs. For you, I would recommend a PG diploma course instead. Uh, Sneha has a question for you, Nidhi. So she's doing a finance degree, bachelor's from a college, and okay, so right. So she's taking a gap year and learning French and then applying for Canada in 2023. So some financial certificate after 12th. What kind of finance, I think, certifications she's asking she can pursue?
I would say you should be considering licensing, like professional certifications. So whether you're looking at a CPA or considering any, I mean, I wouldn't suggest any of the online getting a certificate one. I would say CPA is pretty big, and in the bigger cities, it's the baseline. Uh, Conversations happen after CPA. So I'm a CPA. It's like it's treated like class 12, basically.
Yeah,
Like CPA is a given. Everybody's a CPA. What more do you have on your plate? So
right.
I have CA, I have CPA US, CPA Canada, CISA.
Yeah,
So again, I think CISA is big because it combines finance and tech, and a lot of amazing work opportunities in that. But I don't think you will be able to go to CISA. It's a very, I was to just say that it's tough. Start with CPA or ACCA or anything like that, and then gradually move upwards. You could also consider a CFA or an FRM given your own, obviously, interests. I'm just not sure what you're interested in. If you're interested in more on the finance side, then consider a CFA,
right,
otherwise, CPA.
right. Cool. So let's take a question by Sahil. So deadlines for masters in CS for top unis in Canada. So Sahil, I think I also discussed it previously that for masters, most universities would have something called round of applications. So usually, I think most universities will open sometime this month or next month. So start prepping your documents now. I would advise you to apply in the first round itself because the competition in Canadian university is very, very intense. And if you're looking at some sort of funding or scholarship, the best chance to secure one is actually to apply in the first round. Uh, and regarding the deadlines, I would advise you that they kind of vary from university to university. So check out all the universities you want to apply for, and it will be mentioned in there on the web page. But usually, I would say the deadline is usually March or April for most top universities, and that's when the last round of application kind of goes through. After that, most international students cannot apply. But again, that will vary from university to university. Uh, cool. Okay, so talking about French in Montreal, so Nidhi, because you've been living there, so do you think it's important to learn French if you study in Quebec?
I think so. I think knowing French in Canada just exponentially advances your career because that kind of helps you. I mean, you're an asset. You can work for a variety of organizations. You can also work for the government. Makes a lot of difference. And I think Quebec in general, I've visited Quebec. It can get Montreal, you're good. Like the city, the downtown itself, you're good. But even then, for interviews, for example, you need working knowledge of French. Like, and the interviews happen 100% in French. Um, the people that I work with, they even write emails to me in French, knowing that I have no idea. I have to use Google Translate for it.
Yeah,
So I do think that your own life becomes much easier. Now, do you have to know that before moving to Montreal? I wouldn't say that that's important, but I do think that at some point you should get proficient in French. Otherwise, it's just kind of like going to be tough. And McGill is great, so I would, if French is what is needed to be in McGill, I would do it.
right, right. Cool. I hope that answers your question, Rohan. I think he's been asking to answer this question for a very, very long time. So thank you for being so persistent, in your efforts. Cool. Next question we have is by Lovely. And what is the career for game development in Canada?
Ooh, that's a very interesting career choice, first of all. And obviously, like, gaming or I'd say a few fields that are up and coming, they have a lot of startups in that scene, which makes it a more fun place to be in. I actually have a friend who works in artificial like gaming. What's the thing called where
AR,
you wear the AR?
aug-
Yes,
augmented reality.
yeah, so she works in an organization that does that, and
Right.
they are basically coming up with like larger than life experiences, etc. I only see her growing, like her company growing and growing by the day. Obviously, you don't have a lot of big players in this because this is an upcoming field. But again, if you're somebody who's interested in the innovation tech and startup scene, and if you want to work for say a startup, because that's what you're going to find mostly in in the gaming sector, and I think you'll be good in terms of pursuing a career in that.
Right. Cool. So Nidhi, I'll take one final question, and yeah, pretty interesting as well. So I think music as a career in Canada. So I think this is one question I always get, and I always tell people, okay, US and UK are better because I know a couple of people. I
Mm.
had a couple of people from North America who were studying with me, at uni in UK, and they were there to learn music basically. So
Mm.
how's Canada in terms of the music scene in general, the career in music? Any idea you have?
So
Very
I think,
unusual question.
yeah, but I mean, see, I'll tell you this: most Canadians who are interested in creative spaces move to LA for a reason, right? Because the US has Hollywood, and there's never been a need here to establish a very strong, network for production, films, etc.,
Yeah.
or creative spaces for that matter. But that being said, I mean, now I see a lot of government investment going into creative spaces, especially coming up with plays or musicals or even some amazing TV shows, the Canadian TV shows that we have. So I don't think the scene is as much as you'd find in the US, to be very honest.
US.
I don't know about UK, but I mean, it's not bad either.
Yeah.
It just like, yeah, it just depends on how lucky you can get. And again, you have to be in a big city like Toronto. That's where I see most of the
Yeah.
creative stuff happening.
Right. And I believe Vancouver is kind of slowly emerging as Hollywood of North, I think. And that
Mm.
because a lot of I think American shows, I believe the last show which it's a very old show called Supernatural. It was also shot in Vancouver.
Oh,
And a lot of Hollywood production houses, especially
yeah,
these really big ones like CBS and all, they're moving to Vancouver because it's like cheaper to shoot
of course.
movies and stuff
Yeah, yeah,
than say LA or the other
yeah.
US cities. So yeah, it's coming up, but again, Mritika, it's not very prominent like Nidhi said, like how it is in US. But if you are looking for some options, you can check out some options in Vancouver. I believe Emily Carr, it's a university in Vancouver. It's basically for the creative people. They might have something because I've never, to be honest, I'll be very honest with you, I've never counseled anyone for music related courses for Canada specifically, to be honest. So I'm not really sure. Cool. So Nidhi, just to wind up the session quickly, any quick tips and tricks you'd like to give everyone on the session today?
I think one, most importantly, visa rejections are very
Yeah.
big. And I get a lot of questions around that. So I'm not the expert on it, but please follow the experts. Like, kind of go by what somebody like Saket is telling you, so that you can avoid visa rejections. Also, there are visa delays, so just be patient through it. And then second, there is nothing exceptional that you need to move here or to be here. As long as you're ready to upskill and work on yourself,
Yeah.
that's kind of more important. So
Right.
just keep that in mind, that the journey never ends. You have to be good. You have to do your best every single day. That best can be whatever is your limit today. But here it's always about giving the best. That's something I never faced in India. If I like was feeling trash, I would tell another colleague to pick up my work. But here I can do that maybe once or twice a year. But
Yeah.
most of the days in the year, I'm the one who needs to show up and do a good job.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you so much, Nidhi, and thank you so much for doing this session. And I believe it will be very helpful for everyone who's attended the session today. And for those who have not been able to get their queries addressed, there is a link which is floating in the chat box. Go sign up, and I'll see you for a one-on-one session next week, and someone from the team will get back. Thank you so much, Nidhi. I think
Great. Thank you
it's
so much, Saket.
yeah, I think it's good night for you. I'm not really sure. No, it's
Oh,
morning,
morning.
early morning. Sorry,
This
I
is
got
8:30
confused.
a.m., so it's
Yeah,
amazing. Now I get to
right,
have a full day. But
right.
thank you so much, Saket, and thanks for taking my question also.
Not a problem.
It
Anytime.
honestly helps me. Yeah, thank you. Take care,
Cool.
guys.
Bye bye.
Bye.